Yo, call me a Sonic Central the way I'm up into the potential. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here with another bi-weekly Sonic report slash news update. We have a lot to talk about this week. What happened with Sonic in February, the no-shows, the potential teasers, the plans Sega and Sonic team have put down for the future, as well as new crossovers, some Quill debates going on, and a lot more. So let's get right into it. And of course, please consider subscribing to your boy if you enjoyed the content. And also, let me know if you guys think, should I have a name for this show, right? This like, you know, little mini series I do where I go over these. I was thinking about giving it a name, like, you know, like Sonic Spotlight or Sonic, you know, News or something like that, but I don't know. You guys let me know if there's a name you should do it for it. And yeah, let's just get right into it, man. So the first thing I wanted to get into today is the Sonic no-show of 2026, right? This was the big month in February. Now, I actually, you know, I talked about this a lot in the month. You know, obviously I was hyping up a lot of Sonic Eclipse, you know, potential leaks, rumors throughout everything. And I said this when I made the video in the beginning of the month about February, right? I said in the beginning of February, I was like, if they don't announce this mainline game by the end of February, it's not coming out this year. And I am officially on that camp. I would like to say that. As sad as I am about it, I am officially in the camp that the next mainline Sonic game is not coming out this year. I think it is kaput. It is kablow. I think when it didn't show up at the Game Awards, that was already, you know, hitting the sirens a little bit. But then, yeah, when we didn't get anything this month, whether it was Essential, whether it was a show up in a State of Play or Nintendo Partner Showcase, I felt like, yeah, whatever's going on with this mainline game is probably not going to be this year. Now, I still think we're obviously going to get an announcement. It is still the anniversary of Sonic, and we are still, even if it wasn't, we are in that time range where it's time to talk about the future of Sonic. You know what I mean? It's been 4 years since Sonic Frontiers this year, and I feel like by the time we get, you know, halfway through this year, whether it is, you know, a Sonic Central in March, whether it's Summer Games Fest in summer, whether it's a Direct, whether it's whatever, something is coming this year. In fact, we do have a little bit of you know, look at potential stuff here. We have one thing over here from the Japanese account where they officially launched the website for the 35th anniversary, and they basically said, yeah, running at the speed of sound for 35 years. You can check out the 35th anniversary trailer, upcoming event, and projects plural. Of course, there are still some things that haven't been revealed yet, so we'll be announcing those gradually in the future. So again, this is one of those, like, yeah, shocking, not shocking things. Like, obviously, yes, we are gonna get Sonic announcements, but it's kind of nice to hear a little bit about it, you know, hear that, you know, stuff is coming. And you gotta think about it, right? I mean, this is the first time in a while we don't have anything we know about in the horizon, right? Like, you know, we have Tangle and Whisper that are out, which means, you know, the schedule for Crossroads is currently free, right? Like, we don't know the next free characters. We know Mega Man is coming, right? But we don't have the date for it. And that's about it. You know what I mean? But we don't have any other info besides that. And so for the 35th anniversary has been pretty fun, you know, and we're going to talk about stuff that we've gotten with Chaotix case files and all that. But yeah, it's nice to know that we at least have, you know, some semblance of something coming. Now, I saw this making the rounds today. Of course, if you guys are not aware of it, Nate the Hate is basically, he's the hot new leaker in town. This is the guy who gets all the Nintendo Direct dates right. He's clearly got an actual grasp on the industry. And someone asked him, is there a Sonic game slated for this year? And he said, unsure about the release date, but I do expect an announcement this year. This is coming off an earlier time where someone asked him about the sequel or the next game in the series, and he was like, hey, do you like Sonic Frontiers? Because what I'm hearing is that game is more of that, which makes sense, right? We all know what Izuka said, and the team said that, you know, the next game is going to be the continuation of Frontiers, and also, like, we want that, right? I feel like most of us unanimously agree that, like, the Frontiers formula has to be fleshed out, right? We need to add more to it and flesh it out and give it a bit more sauce, so it can fully flourish into what it's got to be. Now, what I think is interesting, right, is that if you think about the lineup of Sonic games, right, that it could be, if we're not getting a mainline game this year, but, you know, we will get an announcement, what could come out this year, right? So let's think, one, there's the possibility we get nothing, right? That's always, sadly, one of the options is that, hey, this year's a lot of announcements, it's merch stuff, but nothing comes out, right? But I do sincerely doubt that, Option 2 is we get a collection, right? I feel like my only hesitation with not getting a potential remaster, remake, another Sonic Shadow Gens type thing is that interview with Izuka where he was saying like, hey, we're not interested in just doing remasters, right? I feel like even Izuka and the team kind of understand that like maybe they don't want to set the precedent that every game is going to get a Sonic X this or Sonic X that, right? And you sort of have that pressure, especially when he said, a lot of the times we could be working on new things instead of remasters and remakes. And so that's the one hesitation I am now having with, all the times I've been thinking or we've seen rumors of stuff like, a Sonic Unleashed remaster and whatnot. And I've even talked about this before. I've said this, man, Sonic Unleashed, as much as we love it, that's a tough sell. That is a tough sell to casuals who genuinely have a very skewed, poor opinion of the game, making fun of the werehog. I don't think any amount of fixes is going to change the fact that a lot of public eye will think it's a little bit ridiculous. Now, obviously, not every game needs to appeal to the public, but I do feel like to an extent, you need a game that has a broad appeal. And I feel like the ones that they remastered so far, like Colors Ultimate or Sonic X Shadow Generations or, the original games, are ones that, appeal to the masses. Now, we could get a collection because I feel like a collection is a weird in-between of like, it's not really a remaster in the way like Sonic Generations is. I would consider that more of a collection. So I could see them at the bare minimum bringing Sonic Advance Collection over, right? Hey, maybe widescreen, give me some concept art, the typical bells and whistles we've seen with a lot of collections nowadays, especially because, I talked about this a long time. We've talked about a Sonic Rush or Sonic Advance Collection for a long time. Like, we are seeing more and more companies pump out the Game Boy Advance DS era, right? Obviously, Capcom is #1 with that, with the Ace Attorney collections, with the Mega Man collections. We've even seen Konami delve deep into that, with like the GBA collections for Castlevania, even going down to the DS games in the series, right? We had the Bomberman collection recently. Like, it just feels like, a lot of these games, even we just had the Rayman collection, which included like the Game Boy Advance version of the original Rayman game. So I feel like we're starting to see that Game Boy Advance era come up. We even had the remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong from the GBA recently. So it does feel like that era is starting to get a highlight, which is why I do feel like Advance is enough of a cool collection that a lot of people would buy it. It would be a lot of people's first time playing it. And I do feel like those games would benefit a lot from a widescreen HD look. Recently, I was streaming and playing a fan optimized, I think it's a decomp or recomp, I'm not sure the exact naming, of Sonic Advance 2, and that was genuinely a much more enjoyable way to play the game, right? Where you don't just have the bottomless pits everywhere, the game is zoomed out a little bit more, you see more of the world. Like, I just feel like they definitely did a good job with that, and I could see something like that with Sonic Team. And it's very clear that with something like Sonic Origins, they know how to do it for the most part, obviously, with some hiccups. There is also option number 2, a 2D game, right? I feel like not enough people talk about the massive possibility that we get a 2D game, right? Like, assuming maybe Arzest stayed with Sega and they potentially, have been working on a sequel to Superstars, this year will have been 3 years since Superstars, and I feel like if they were just building off that foundation and the idea with it was just to make better levels, maybe make the art style a little bit more appealing, new music, I feel like 3 years is ample time to design a new 2D game. Or if Sonic Team decide to go all in internally and work on a 2D game, I could see that. I've seen people float around the idea of something involving Metal Sonic and Amy in a 2D game to potentially, reignite that Sonic CD love / get people ready for the movie, right? Like, something like that, I could 100% see, like a mini Sonic CD type sequel or gimmick game for a new 2D game. But I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lack of people assume a 2D game is happening this year, when I have now kind of jumped on the camp where I feel like a 2D game is more likely than anything. I feel like that's just like the outcome that makes a lot more sense. And of course, the next option is we get another spin-off, right? Last year we had Crossroads. We could see another spin-off game, whether it's like an action warriors game, right? We could see a fighting game like we've always dreamed of. We could see, you know, some other idea or gimmick, but I feel like they wouldn't do 2 spin-off series like in a row. I feel like we're not there yet with Sonic. You know, I feel like they're still gonna ride out the wave of Crossroads, make sure all the DLC is done and all the way through before we jump into another, you know, mainline console spin-off game that they try to sell. But of course, in the comment section below, let me know, now that I feel like we're not getting that next mainline game this year, even though I think we're gonna get the announcement. I think, listen, no matter what, the hype cycle for the next mainline game will start this year. Like, we will see that game by this summer at some point, you know, whether it's Essential, Summer Game Fest, whatever. We're gonna see the next mainline game. We're gonna start having trailers to analyze, songs to break down, clips, screenshots, all that stuff. It is all coming together. My one worry though is how far into the year is it, right? Funny enough, we actually today had the announcement of Pokemon Water and Waves, which is the next entry in Pokemon's thing. And they're also going in 2027, right? And I always say this, right? And you guys can let me know what you think. I compared Pokemon and Sonic a lot, right? Where obviously, you know, Pokemon makes a gajillion more dollars, obviously. But I'm talking about in terms of the game quality, right? A lot of people lately have felt, you know, like both series, you know, I've taken a step back for a while, and then, you know, you've had stuff like the Legend series, which is like the Potential Man series, which is like what is akin to, I would say, Frontiers, and now people are waiting for this next mainline game to hit and be incredible. And if you looked at the trailer for the new Pokemon game, it looks beautiful, but it also looks like Pokemon Company is actually taking their time and not just launching on the anniversary. Now, I really do wonder, though, are they going to wait till next fall to release the Sonic game? Because, man, that would be a long wait, bro. I do not want to be 31 years old by the time the next mainline Sonic game comes out. I will lose my shit. Here's hoping that it is going to be maybe a spring release in 2027, but obviously you never know. But one thing we do know is that Sega and Sonic Team have been planting seeds slowly in front of us for the future. Obviously, if you are, you know, a fan of the series, just like I am, that's in tune with everything, you have seen the insane push for Tangle and Whisper in the last 2 to 3 weeks, right? We just got the Chaotix case files reveal of their voices. They've had the VAs, you know, in little interviews talking about how excited they are for the role, right? Apparently, and this is according to Kagi, aka what's called, his name is Sayu, who's voicing General. Apparently he was contacted to do the voice of General like 2 years ago, you know, so there's been a long time coming where they've contacted them, you know. But we've gotten the voice of Tangle and Whisper. We just got a Tales to featuring, you know, Tangle and Whisper, where they're talking a little bit about their life. You get a little bit of their voices. If I can open it up for a little bit, just so you can hear them out over here. It's super cute. I love hearing their dynamic.
No. You gotta give the
They're super cute. They're super cute.
Like your variable,
you know, I'm trying to
enter the very alien language.
I just really love them.
And scan stuff.
Yes.
They're awesome. Again, you can go and watch this, but yeah. So not only have they given them voices, right? They gave them a Tales to. They put them in the Chaotix case files, and obviously they are literally right now launched in Sonic Racing Crossworlds with their whole festival going towards them. So this is big stuff. I mean, I have never seen Sonic Team push new characters like this in a hot minute. You know what I mean? Like, you could argue like Sage was also like a new popular modern character, but I feel like Sage isn't the same thing, right? Sage was a positioned as more of a villain as opposed to like, hey, you're part of like the gang, right? It's been a while since we've seen a new member of the gang feel like they've, you know, joined the series and locked in, right? You know, like I said, we've had hints of it and we've had little moments of it with characters, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? I feel like Tangle and Whisper, they are genuinely going all in right now on pushing them. It's like, I would be shocked at this point if these two don't show up in the next mainline game in some way, whether it's an NPC side quest mission, whether they're just characters you talk to, whether they're playable in some way. Like, it is super clear that Sega and Sonic Team are making these guys pushed so people can know them. You know what I mean? And I think that's good. That's important, bro. We need more characters. We need characters that, you know, we need new characters that people will grow up with, right? And be like, all right, these are the characters. The same way we fell in love with, you know, new side characters like your Marines or your Chaotix, right? Or, you know, at the time, Team Dark with Sonic Adventure 2. You need new characters like this that'll really make people excited for the future. And again, not only that, but yeah, they voice casted someone for General in the latest Chaotix case files, and they got someone to voice Vanilla the Rabbit. So we're seeing, you know, new voice actors join the series, and we're also hearing a new voice direction. I mean, you guys have heard or if you haven't, go listen to my reactions to the Chaotic case files. The voice direction in that series is incredible, and I think it should be the gold standards for what we are seeing next. We have Rouge back to being, you know, a little bit more, you know, femme fatale, more, you know, doing a little suave moves, right? You've got the Vector and Vanilla dynamic that they lean into. You got the General voice, which is like intimidating and cool. Like, they are knocking out of the park with the new voice direction, but I really do feel like in my heart of hearts they're planting seeds for the future. You know, like, again, we even have Professor Tori in the Chaotix case file. So I don't know, this to me feels like they are setting up things that I don't necessarily think are going to be the crux of the new game. Like, I don't think these are things, I don't think this is homework, right? Where this is stuff that, like, if you're not consuming this, you're going to be confused in the next game. But I do think this is stuff like that's trying to make it so that, like, when you see these guys as an NPC or they show up in the next game in some way, you're like, oh shit, wait, I recognize these two. They were in Crossroads. Oh, they're the comic book characters, right? Like, that sort of push for these characters, I feel like, is what they're going for. But we have to talk about one of the most exciting parts of this week, and that has been the Sonic crossovers. In general, Sonic X IDW is, like, in a great position right now. It seems like Sonic is doing numbers for them. And yeah, they officially announced that they are doing a Sonic X Godzilla comic book series, which is kind of insane, right? You've got, like, these beautiful cover pieces by different artists. I cannot believe I am seeing Sonic and Godzilla art over the timeline that is real and official. It's crazy. It feels like a match made in heaven. I can't believe we're gonna see this. And also, Godzilla, you're cooked, right? You are absolutely cooked. I'd like to actually go, if you guys would like to, read a little bit, just a little bit of this, because they had an extensive interview about it on IGN. We won't read the full thing, but we'll read at least the little bit that they've got here. So IDW is constantly brainstorming new potential crossovers. We've always been especially excited about the possibility of bringing these two iconic licenses together. This crossover in particular is one that fans have been asking us for us loud and clear for years, so it's been high up on the list to try to make happen. Who wouldn't want to see the Blue Blur versus King of the Monsters after all? So this idea has actually been on the IDW team's radar for a very long time, but it wasn't until the last year so that all the pieces fell into place and we can get to work on it. We're lucky to have such a great creative team to bring this story to life, and of course this crossover would not have been possible without a tremendous amount of support from Sega and Toho. So love to see this, man. I cannot believe what I'm looking at. And in general, it is really cool to see more and more companies even wanting to work with Sega and Sonic Team. Like, it's very clear that Sonic Team has been reaching out to companies, whether it was last year with even stuff like the race car companies for, you know, the Sonic Racing Crossroads stuff, whether it's stuff like this for Godzilla, whether it's Sanrio, right, for Hello Kitty X Sonic stuff, you know, whether it's Nickelodeon, whether it's Pac-Man, Bandai, whatever. Like, Sonic is such a flexible character with franchises. Like, I deadass think you could put Sonic in everything and he could work in some way or another. Now, I'm looking at you, Dragon Ball. All right, I'm looking at you. I don't know how you guys got to figure this out, but I need you guys to figure out that partnership somehow. That's like the finish line of my life. You know, Sonic X, Dragon Ball in some way or another. But of course, we'll get there when we get there eventually. And in other comic news, they announced that they are doing a part 2 of the Sonic X DC comic run over here. This is going to be called Sonic the Hedgehog Metal Legion. And, you know, we have a bunch of cool artwork. Rouge as Catwoman is a awesome pick. Awesome, fantastic choice. I love some of the art that they have here, you know, and we've got Blaze as Starfire, which is such a creative idea. You've got Big as, what's his name? What's Fish Guy's name? Whatever Fish Guy's name is. And you've got Cream and Cheese as Supergirl and the dog, which is super cute. You've got Lex Eggman. So this is awesome. Obviously, you know, we read through this last year. If you want, you can go check out my comic reactions to it. And at the end, they did tease a sequel where Eggman and Lex meet up together and look like they're forming a super villain bond. But yeah, this is another one of those partnerships that I do hope leads to an animated series. I mean, people do praise DC's animated movies, that they do a lot, and so I would love to see them, you know, sort of continue this relationship, whether it is in merch. A lot of people have seen, there's been a lot of rumors and speculation that they're gonna add the DC characters in Sonic Racing Crossroads for potential year 2 content. I would love to see that. I just, listen, man, for me, I just want more of this, bro. This dynamic for me is everything. Like the Sonic and Flash. It's just, it was so perfect last year, and it's just so perfect now, still seeing him. And I am in love with these two's dynamic, and I can't wait to see more of this. Now, this is a small thing, but I wanted to bring it up. They did drop this new artwork of Silver on the Japanese website, and people are pointing out that his quills are long as hell. Now, this could just be an art direction thing, but it would be awesome if, like, we eventually got to a point with, like, the games where, like, maybe there is a bit of a time skip going on. Like, maybe next time we see him, his quills are really long like this. And I feel like, you know, I think we're kind of all in agreement that after this Metal and Amy character arc we're about to see, where I'm with you guys. I feel like we are going to see them in games in some way, in DLC or whatnot. I do think the next character in line to get, you know, some kind of new content and fleshed outness is Silver the Hedgehog. I feel like Silver the Hedgehog is also like the potential man of Sonic. He's a character that people love by their design and, you know, when he's playable in games, but he was never really given a fair shot. Right, he was, you know, born in Sonic 06, which already, you know, was a flaw for him. And again, he hasn't been really given a fair shot in a lot of games. So to potentially get a game where he stars, main character roles, you know, a remaster with him getting some new content, I feel like, and obviously, you know, last year we had that crazy movement where all the fans were rallying together to make like Silver the Hedgehog fan art. Like, it's super clear that this character has become more popular than they are like in the games, you know what I mean? Like, they are a very popular thing outside of it. And yeah, I think we all agree that we want more Silver. Now, something funny I wanted to talk about was this banner and profile picture that Sonic Team switched up to. So basically, a lot of people were freaking out because they changed their banner to this, where it showed, you know, the 2010s. And I remember being like, guys, like, they literally said they're going to be celebrating every era of Sonic. Like, if we go on Sonic's Twitter account, right, like, they even, you know, just recently made artwork for Sonic Mania, right? And then again, before that, it was some artwork of the 2010s era, you know, where you have stuff like, you know, the IDW characters and, you know, some of the Sonic Colors stuff. Like, I don't know, I feel like some people are overthinking it, but what happened was they changed their profile picture to this, and it once again brought up debates and conversations about, you know, the character model. And, you know, literally Katie, the social media manager, had to come out and tell people like, yeah, a lot of people are overthinking this. We literally are just going to be celebrating every era of Sonic, you know, and this one happens to be this 2010s era. Now, look, guys, we've talked about this topic to death. I always see it come up on the timeline. With Sonic stuff, I understand why people get scared. You know, it is a character, a topic, a world that people really, 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 really love and care about. And so they want the best for it. I 100% acknowledge that. I respect that. I think it's a very big part of the series. But I think the next game is going to have a new model. I feel like Kishimoto made it very clear from his comments replying to people about Frontiers, and I feel like it is the #1 piece of feedback that they've heard over the long time about it, that, you know, Sonic needs a new model, because I've seen people, you know, do debates about this model. They've tried to fix it and make it look good, but it's become very clear that people want a new style, a new look for the series, you know, that makes it look more cool, makes the model look more flexible, because this model, we all agree, is weird. Right, there have been times where they pose it and it looks amazing. There's times where it just looks awkward. It is a very weird mix and look to the character that a lot of people just have mixed feelings on. Whether it's a render, whether it's in game, people want change, and I do think it's going to happen. I don't know, man. A lot of people don't believe me, bro, but that's like my #1 confidence about the next mainline game, is I do think he's going to have a new model, a new look. Sega recently talked about actually how there is a full-on studio or side of Sega that is like focused on their single player product as opposed to some of their, you know, multiplayer products in there. And I think Sonic is about to be benefited by like a massive boost, bro. And again, dude, like, you gotta remember, man, this year, and we just talked about this earlier, we're probably not getting this mainline game. Next year, bro, will have been 5 years since Sonic Frontiers, bro. That is a lot, and I mean a lot of time for a 3D Sonic game. Like, we are looking at a game that is potentially gonna be like the best game in the series coming up next. You know what I mean? Like, we're looking at a team that had a high on Frontiers, had a high on Shadow Generations, and now has money, expertise, understand what's up to do something really cool. Now with Sonic, there's always gonna be, you know, a what if and but and someone's always gonna have a gripe, a thing that there's an issue with. It's just, this is the way of life. It is what it is. It's a franchise everybody wants something different with. But I do think this next game is going to be something that a lot of the fans, including me, including everybody, we're gonna be really happy with. I think they have been genuinely cooking. Right? If they weren't cooking, if this was Sega years ago, we would have had the next mainline game announced already. It would have had a fall release date for this anniversary, or even, you know, earlier than that. You know, there would have been no DLC for Final Horizons to test out anything. We would have been in a much different place. So I think everybody panicking about this, you know, I think chill. I think we're gonna get the big change we want. Things are coming. I think they just want to do it all at once. And dude, like, I've talked about this, man. I mean, the 35th anniversary so far, like, it is so much better than what a lot of companies do. Look at Mario's anniversary, right? For Mario's 40th anniversary, they just kind of like do like, let's count this Galaxy Remaster as Mario's 40th. Can we count the Yoshi game as Mario's 40th? Yeah, let's do that. You know, Mario Tennis, that's like a Mario 40th game. That's like, these are like not real celebration things, you know what I mean? I feel like with Sonic, they're trying to do things like commemorative art pieces to celebrate each era, right? We even had a game back in the day that was Sonic Generations that celebrated the series, right? And you know, we're getting, dude, we are in February. We are so early in this year, and we've already gotten merch, we've gotten art pieces, we've gotten a whole podcast that's been releasing weekly. Sorry, like an audio show, you know? And like, we've been getting Crossroads DLC every other week. Like, this is a lot of stuff for what is effectively the second month of the year, right? And you know, we just had the voice casting of Amy. Like, things are coming, y'all. Like, we're gonna be okay. I feel like they have found their footing with Sonic, where there is something to look forward to every other week. Right? I feel like Sega and Sonic have put themselves in a position where there's something to look forward to. There's always going to be some kind of announcement, whether it's a Crossroads DLC, whether it's an announcement of a new mobile game thing, whether it's an announcement of a new comic book thing, whether it's I feel like they are doing something at all times for the series. We are like in the healthiest and best position we've ever been in. I know we're hungry. I know we want that next mainline game. Trust me, there's no one that wants that more than me. You guys know that I'm ready. I'm here day one. I want to do 45-minute analysis on like a 30-second teaser. I want to do everything. I want to have all the discussions, the yaps, and everything. And I think all that is going to come, you know, and that stuff is going to be exciting when it does, but we're gonna be all right. Now, something that I don't think is gonna be all right is Sonic Rumble. So Sonic Rumble gave a bit of an update over here, just talking about how, they want to fix up the game. They're saying, first of all, we'd like to express our immense gratitude for your support of Sonic Rumble, as well as the amount of feedback that has reached us since launching the game last year. It has given us much to consider as we look to improve the Sonic Rumble experience for all players and encourage us to work towards the best game that Sonic Rumble can be. With that in mind, we'd like to share some updates to the game. So they're going to be doing adjustments to the legendary skin pricing, which has been a big issue for people. Major updates, you know, so players will be able to learn more free red rings per season, making more skins available by collecting skin fragments. Content, which is initially only available through specific means, will become obtainable by other means. There will be improvements to the gameplay experience, accessible stuff, and changes to the UI, and they're going to be doing a night crossover. So they're trying with Sonic Rumble. I don't know how long this game's got, if I'm going to be honest with you, right? As someone, you know, who has been very gracious to talk to the team, have a great time. You know, they've even sent me to Japan to play it. I think the game is super fun, but I have a hard time going back to it a lot unless we get something substantial to the game, right? I think number one is it needs a console port. You know, I feel like a Switch 2 edition of the game or a PlayStation version of the game would immediately like bump the player count, you know, fixing up the UI so even when you're playing on PC, it doesn't look like you're playing the mobile version, you know, massively on your screen. Like, I think there's ways to save it, and I want them to keep doing the crossovers because I know they have crossovers planned for this game, and I want them to save it, you know. But I hope they can do it, and I really hope they keep it alive and strong, because even Rovio has said that they're not in the best position, obviously, in the last financial report. So we have to see what's going to come next for this. Before we end today's video, I want to do an introduction of a new segment of a Sonic Q&A session for the end of these videos. Now, if you would like to become a YouTube member on the channel and support me furthermore, if you're not a Twitch watcher or a YouTube stream watcher, you can just become a member. I'm going to start putting a, question thingy in the membership tab where each week you can ask me something. And yeah, it's just like an extra yap incentive at the end of these videos. Number one, we have my Goat Super Dion Bro says, member content, yeah, I'm thinking we're back. I'm excited for the new Godzilla crossover. I've got a question for you, big bro. If Sonic were to get a crossover spin-off action game, who would you want to be with? Both you and I's first instinct is obviously Dragon Ball, but I'd like to hear who else you'd enjoy seeing. Keep up the amazing work. So a Sonic action game is obviously something that'd be really fun. And if it's not Dragon Ball, I feel like, ooh, what would be a good pick for it? I feel like something like a Demon Slayer might be really fun because Sega already has the rights to that. I think Mega Man. Mega Man is the very obvious one. They've worked with Capcom on Mega Man and Sonic comics, so we know what kind of storyline they could have. They're getting back together in Sonic Racing Crossroads DLC, so I think Mega Man is the big obvious one I would love to see some sort of platformer collaboration with. We've got DK Games, or D King Games over here saying, yo Fidel, hope you've been doing well. If the next mainline Sonic game ends up being Frontiers 2, but with multiple playable characters, would you think there's a possibility to see Titan fights with other characters besides Sonic? Like super forms for Knuckles, Amy, Tails would be sick, or even Shadow to be even crazier. Keep up the stellar work. You're my favorite Sonic TV ever. I appreciate that. I think we could see that. I don't know what's the scale of other characters getting their grand boss fights. I think maybe they'll start getting one or two. I don't know if we're going to start seeing super forms for the other characters besides your main hogs, but I could start to see rival battles come back, and big boss battles come back, sort of the way they did in Shadow Gens, where they weren't necessarily Titans, but they had like cinematics and QTEs in them. So that's something I see more like what we'd get for side characters. I don't think they would get the big event battle yet. Focus Fire says, if the next mainline Sonic game had the longevity like Frontiers or Sonic Racing Crossroads, how would you like it to be structured? For example, do you want monthly updates like Sonic Racing, bulk DLC like Frontiers, or something completely different? Love the streams and keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Focus Fire. So they're saying if the next mainline game comes out, how would I like, DLC added content? I kind of like how Frontiers did it. I feel like for a single player game, the DLC needs to be structured different than a racing game. With a racing game, it has an online player base. You need to keep players engaged for them to go back and all that. With single player games like this, I feel like it's cool to just be like, hey, we're going to be doing, free level updates for one pack, maybe an extra character that's playable in another pack, big story expansion towards, the later half, and then maybe some bonuses. And I think something like that is like the perfect way to go about it. I think that's what I'd like to see. I like how they did it in Sonic Frontiers. I think with Frontiers, the only flaw was that like some of those felt like they should have been in the game. Like the jukebox should have just been in the game, right? Or even stuff like what was the other thing? The photo mode should have been in the game, but I love the action challenges that they added. Just incentives to go back to that world and just play the game because it's fun are super cool. So I think, yeah, the best way I'd like to go about it would be Frontier style DLC. Han Solo says, what is your dream structure for a Sonic fighting game? 2D or 3D arena? 3D models or cell shaded? Would you see different Sonic characters' movesets being implemented? This is tough, man. I mean, in an ideal world, right? In an ideal world, it is a 2D game because I do think traditional 2D fighting games have a lot more longevity and a lot more hardcore players. It could get pushed at Evo, like it could become a big deal, especially with how crazy Sonic fans are with this stuff. But I do think, right, I could see a world where it is an arena fighter, but they actually cook with the story and content because, again, I think Sparking Zero is an awesome game. It just lacked content, right? And so I feel like if they did an arena fighter, I think an arena fighter would do a better justice displaying Sonic characters' power. You know, I feel like you could get transforming into Super Sonic, into air clashes, right? Into big aerial moves and super moves. I feel like you can capture a lot more of how dynamic and cool Sonic is with a sick 3D arena fighter. That would be sick if maybe Cyber Connect 2 is involved with it. Or, you know, Spike Chun. Is it Spike Chun's out there? Whichever team did Sparking Zero. I think that would also be perfect. Caleb HD says, would you like to see multiplayer integrated into the next 3D game? And if so, how do you think they should do it? I've always liked the idea of Sonic multiplayer. I just think just let me race someone. I think just bring back the racing multiplayer mode from, you know, Sonic Adventure 2 Days would be awesome. Where two of us are running through a level, you can get like an item or a power-up that can hurt them as you're trying to go through it. Like something like that to me is just so simple and additive. And even like, dude, I'll take a leaderboard, dude. Like the fact that Frontiers didn't have leaderboards, like really, I feel like hurt its replay value. Something I really loved about Shadow Gens was, you know, going to those levels again and getting those ultimate abilities and doing all those things where, you know, I was trying to beat people's scores and trying to beat it wingless or with the wings or trying all the cool tech. Like it really encourages you to really do better in that sense. But yeah, I would take something akin to Sonic Adventure 2 where it's like you guys are racing through the levels or doing Emerald Hunt challenges or something like that. Flame Angel says, hey buddy, as the 35th anniversary is rolling out with new content, do you think based on the leaks, even if they are fake or not, we will get something Sonic related announced in June? Yes, easily, no question. We are going to get, I think we are going to get bare minimum 2 Sonic game projects announced by June. Like, put that on God, bro. Archer says, if there was going to be a Sonic RPG, what would you want to take inspiration from? Dragon Quest, Clear Obscure, or even RPGs like Final Fantasy? Obviously, in an ideal world, it would have the budget and scope of something like an FF7 remake or an FF16. But I do think if they were to go traditional, I honestly would go the Mario and Luigi route, you know, make it so that I can do like cool special moves, time my attacks for some cool combos. I feel like that's a way you could showcase and have really cool specials for the cast. You could have rotating side members. I guess maybe more Paper Mario. It's a mix of Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi the way I see it, where like your friends would be your different partners that you cycle through. And then again, you have to time your attacks and do cool stuff. I would love something like that. Yao Barry, my Go Down Barry says, this year I've seen a few IDW characters come over to the Sonic Games podcast. Who do you want to see in the next make the move over? I think Surge, right? Surge, I feel like is the next natural pick for a later character to come to the series, right? She's very cool, chaotic, a rival to Sonic. So please, Surge, get in there. And then one more question I'll grab here by Emerald is, do you think the next mainline Sonic game will have multiple playable characters again? And if so, do you think it'll be able to do the same characters from Frontiers, or will they throw in Shadow or Silver? I think it is going to be Frontier style, where, you know, it's going to be segments where you play as other playable characters. And I think it is going to be Amy, Knuckles, Tails. I could see them throw in Shadow. I think Silver is not yet. I think Silver is going to be, we're like one game, one movie off of Silver, I feel like. But I do see Shadow being playable in the next game. But yeah, I think it's going to be structured Frontier style. But guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know if you enjoyed today's Sonic Yaps. And of course, I love you. Thank you all for watching. You guys are the best. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out.